Chicago Cubs News Today.
Look, the Cubs got crushed yesterday, 10-4. Everyone already knows that. But there's something happening behind the scenes that most fans haven't really stopped to process yet. Now let me show you something that isn't being talked about much right now. Because on the same day the team took that beating from the Nationals, the front office made a move that completely changes the conversation about this team's future. And if you follow the Cubs closely, you've probably noticed that when they act like this, quickly, quietly, on opening day, there's usually a very clear message behind it. The big question now is, what does this move really mean for this season? News 1. Nico Hoerner contract extension. Throughout the entire preseason, Hoerner's name was involved in trade rumors. Several teams were linked to him, and the Cubs stayed quiet. They let the market talk. They let the media speculate. And when the right moment came, they handled the deal internally. Hoerner is 28 years old. He has 2 Gold Glove awards in his career. In 2025, he finished 19th in National League MVP voting. He hit .297 with 29 stolen bases in 156 games. He's not a slugger. He never was. But he's the type of player who makes everything around him work. And the most important detail, he would have become a free agent after this season. Without this deal, the Cubs were facing a real risk of losing one of the pillars of their infield with no compensation. If you follow the Cubs closely, you already know this kind of move doesn't come out of nowhere. This is Jed Hoyer saying something clearly. It's the organization saying, this guy is part of the plan. We're not testing the market. We're not listening to offers. We're building something here with the right people. And hey, if you follow the Cubs regularly, go ahead and leave your like, because we're going deep into this analysis. Because a lot of people this morning are only talking about the loss, the ugly score, and that's fair, losses hurt. But a 6-year contract says a lot more about the future than a bad result in April. Now let's think objectively about what this contract represents inside the clubhouse. Hoerner isn't just a defensive player. He's a standard setter. He's the guy who shows up early, trains consistently, and doesn't complain when the team goes through a rough stretch. And the Cubs just told him, and everyone inside that clubhouse, that this is the type of player they want to build around. There's another layer here too. During the preseason, with trade rumors surrounding him, Hoerner stayed focused. Nothing leaked to the media. He didn't show any public frustration. That kind of attitude has value, and the front office recognized it. In my view, this is the kind of move that defines a franchise. It's not the blockbuster signing of the hottest free agent on the market. It's not the trade that makes national headlines. It's the Cubs looking at their own foundation and saying, this guy is ours, period. I needed this. Honestly, I couldn't go through the whole season with that uncertainty hanging over everything. Every week there was a new rumor, a different team being mentioned. Now it's over. Nico Hoerner is a Cub for 6 years, and that changes the entire mood around the team. And the impact goes beyond the field. When you remove that uncertainty, the player performs more freely. Teammates trust the front office's plan more. The fans can finally breathe. These are small things that add up over a 162-game season. The Cubs are going to fight for a playoff spot this year, I believe that. And having Hoerner locked into the middle of the field, playing without contract pressure, doing what he does best, running, defending, being consistent, is a key piece in that equation. A tough loss on opening day, but the front office responded with a move that speaks louder than the scoreboard. 6 years with Nico Hoerner. The Cubs bet on the future. And now the season truly begins. News 2, Matthew Boyd, and a historic debut for the wrong reason. Now let's talk about what happened on the field. Because the loss wasn't just an ugly score. It came with a performance so unusual that it made MLB history. Matthew Boyd left the game after 3 2/3 innings. 6 earned runs allowed, 7 strikeouts, just 1 walk. On paper, it looks contradictory, and that's exactly what makes this outing so hard to explain. That specific combination, high strikeouts, low walks, but a lot of runs allowed, has only happened 8 times in MLB history on opening day. The list includes Jacob deGrom in 2023, Tim Lincecum in 2012, Brett Saberhagen in 1988, Fergie Jenkins in 1969, and even Cy Young back in 1902. Being on a list with those names is usually something you'd proudly put on your resume. In this context, not so much. So what does this actually mean? Boyd was technically dominant. His strike zone command was working. He wasn't missing outside. The problem was that when the Nationals made contact, they made hard contact, and in bunches. A solo home run from Weimer opened the door, and then the Nationals just kept hitting. If you followed the Cubs for a while, you've seen this script before. The pitcher looks sharp on paper, the control numbers are solid, but the opposing lineup just doesn't stop hitting. And you're left staring at the scoreboard, trying to figure out what just happened. I know it stings, especially on opening day, when expectations are high, but let me give you some context that might help you take a deeper breath. If you follow the Cubs regularly, go ahead and leave your like. This channel exists for moments exactly like this. The big question now is, what does this performance say about Boyd for the rest of the season? Look at the data calmly. 7 strikeouts in less than 4 innings is a strong pace. 1 walk shows real control. The issue was location within the strike zone. He pitched to contact, and the Nationals punished it. That's an adjustment that needs to happen. Boyd has to understand that against a lineup like this, you can't rely on contact for outs. You have to finish hitters with strikeouts or induce weak contact. He has the arsenal. The question is whether he'll make that adjustment quickly. Honestly, this outing doesn't worry me as much as it would if it happened in September. It's Game 1. Pitchers are still calibrating their rhythm, finding timing, and feeling how their bodies respond after the preseason. I've seen Boyd on his good days. He has the tools. What I want to see in his next starts is how he responds. A real pitcher isn't defined by one bad outing. He's defined by what he does after it. One rough start on day 1 doesn't change the rotation plan, but it does increase the pressure on him going forward. The Cubs need Boyd to be consistent throughout the season. If he struggles early, it puts pressure on the bullpen too soon, and that creates a ripple effect you don't want in April. His response in the next turn through the rotation will say a lot about what to expect from this team. Boyd made MLB history, for the wrong reason. But opening day is just chapter 1. There are still 161 games ahead. What he does next will define the real narrative. News 3. The Wrigley Wind stole a home run from Ian Happ. And to close out opening day, there's a story that mixes frustration with one of the most unique elements in American baseball. Ian Happ crushed a ball at 108 miles per hour, with a launch angle of 32 degrees. That type of contact results in a home run 97% of the time, according to MLB data. The ball didn't leave the park. It didn't even come close to the wall. The wind at Wrigley Field pushed the ball more than 30 meters back into the field. According to MLB, this was the largest distance the wind has ever taken away from a potential home run in the weather-applied metrics database, which covers the last 3 full seasons. Without the wind, the ball would have traveled 435 feet. With the wind, it went just 322 feet. It dropped right into the glove of James Wood, the young Nationals outfielder. And the most impressive part, Wood had to take a completely unusual route to catch it, because the ball didn't follow any trajectory a defender would expect. He turned over his shoulder, ran back toward the wall, and then had to rush forward to make the catch. If you've ever been to Wrigley Field, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That stadium has a personality of its own. The wind comes in from Lake Michigan and does whatever it wants. Some days it pushes everything out, and you see home runs that shouldn't exist. Other days it pulls everything back and steals plays that deserve to be celebrated. It's part of the friendly confines. It always has been. And that's one of the reasons playing at Wrigley is different from anywhere else in baseball. But look, Happ made the contact. He hit it hard. And that's what really matters from this play. Now take the wind out of the equation and think about what that swing represents. 108 miles per hour exit velocity. 32 degrees of launch angle. Hap is making elite contact. The swing is working. If that ball leaves the park, and 97% of the time it does, it changes the score, the energy in the dugout, the entire dynamic of the game. The wind was ruthless yesterday, but the Cubs can't control the wind. What they can control is continuing to make that kind of contact throughout the season, because sooner or later, the wind will cooperate. You know what I thought when I saw that play? I thought Wrigley Field was reminding us of something we sometimes forget when we get obsessed with metrics and stats. Baseball still has variables that no data can fully control, and there's something beautiful about that. Extremely frustrating in the moment, but beautiful when you step back. Hap did everything right. The wind simply decided it wasn't his day. That's Wrigley being Wrigley. And honestly, I wouldn't trade that ballpark for anything. But stepping away from the poetry and back to reality, this play matters because it shows the Cubs are generating dangerous contact. Hap, Nico Hoerner locked in for 6 years, and a roster that stayed competitive even on a bad day against the Nationals. This is not a team that's going to disappear in the standings. It's a team that lost opening day, but is showing the right ingredients. The Cubs return on Saturday against the Nationals, and that's where the story starts to be rewritten. So that was opening day of the 2026 season for the Chicago Cubs. A tough loss on the scoreboard. Matthew Boyd landing on a historic list for the wrong reason. The Wrigley Wind stealing what could have been a historic home run from Hap for the opposite reason. And in the middle of all that, Hoerner signs for 6 years, and the front office sends a clear message about the future. That's the Cubs being the Cubs. Complicated, unpredictable, but always with something bigger happening beneath the surface. Now let me ask you, do you believe this team has what it takes to turn the page quickly and truly compete this season? Or is there still a missing piece? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everything. And if you haven't subscribed yet, the Cubs will play 162 games this year. You'll want to be here for every single one of them. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Go Cubs go!